Okay, this is good. I've tried this before and it works. I use this for the YouTube videos, so I know that it works. Alrighty, so let's focus on the homeworks, huh? So merge list, the spread operator, those three dots here, allow me to pass any amount of list. Any. I can also give 3 or 1. And what will the spread operator do is to essentially put this in each argument will be put in an array. So if I console log this shopping list, and I do start, you can see that the shopping list here yeah, you see it's an array of arrays. So it's an array of 1 and 2 shopping list. This one. So from that point on, how I solved the problem, I create an empty array. I went through each list and I get a list, and then I went through each item of each list. And then if the big list is empty, I will push immediately whatever I need to, like the item if it's empty. Otherwise, I will check if that item already exists by doing this. And I'm using sum, which returning true will be very efficient because we stop immediately when this true is when this became true. Then if exists, I will add the amount of the item to the item that already exists in the big list. This plus equal is the same as write this. So the amount will increase of this value. Okay, it's the same. This plus equal is the same as writing this. And and if not exists, that means I need to add the value. So I'll push to the array, and then I return the big list.
So what is the big list?
Big list is this this array here that I return in the end. Then you can see that it's working. So if I have, let me increase this, let me run that again. So those are my 2 lists. And then you can see that this is a pack of carrot. It's 1 here and 1 here. So you see there's 1 here and 1 here. And here I have pack of carrot 2. So it's the amount is added. Okay, I'll put this this method in Slack so you can have a look. Okay. So, but no one tried to solve this. You tried. Did you manage?
Because I saw the code, so I copied it and it works.
Okay.
I searched it on Google.
Okay, how to solve it?
Yeah.
It's all right. Okay, yeah, that's also when we have a problem. Okay, perfect. So the other exercise was to take the class and use the HTTP server, and I ask you to make persistent. Remember that we don't have a DB yet, right? We don't have a proper database. But I said, like, you can get around with a simple, file system manipulation, and you can use the FS node module, core node module, to make somehow persistent. And obviously, it's not the best way of doing it, but it's a simple way of solving the problem. If you don't, if you're not allowed to use a DB, like in this case. Maybe you want to show the solution? Yeah. So connect to the Chromecast and.
And then this which one are you talking about?
We have. Let me check. We have the 3269. Maybe you wanna share the entire desktop. There is like an arrow at some point that you can select entire desktop. Yes, much better.
So actually, I created one class, and for this class I make 3 instances of the class. Like I want to make one big store, and I want to add, remove,
Yeah.
and show items.
Yes.
And it will communicate with the JSON file.
Yes.
So first of all, output like I have one class instance data, and
Yeah.
it is showing this icon over here,
Yes.
and detecting this data from the JSON file.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. So it's persistent.
Yeah. And if I want to add the item,
Yeah.
here is the JSON file, and here it checks its ID. If there is an ID, then it's add in the quantity.
Yes. Okay. So if you say, let's say 1.
So we have 1, and we add, and we say that it's 6 in the ID. So same as if we want to remove. It will take reduction 1 in the quantity.
Yeah.
So there will be 6 and there will be 5.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
So there is my class. In the class, there is a show product method.
Yeah.
I read the file and check if there is a data. Then it fetch the data and show it. And here is the add store product. So here is the data. I read this data, filter it, and store it in data exist variable.
Yes.
And I check if there is a variable, and then write it, add in the existing. Yeah, add it. Otherwise, it will.
You add it on top and you append it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I find this solution that I am first, because in the JSON file, if I write the method, then it will replace other parts.
Yes. You need to read it first.
First I read it,
Yes.
store it, And
Yeah.
then I
You read it, change it, and you write it all over again.
all over. Okay.
Yes.
So maybe it's the better approach or not.
Nice that you do that observation, because that's one of the limitations to have a not structured. It's a good point. I'll talk about later. That's the problem on having a DB, because every operation now will cost you a full read
Yeah.
and a full write. Even if you need to change just one number, right? Because you need to read and type file, parse it, change it, and save it back again. And that will cost you a lot of reading and writing just to change a number, right? And that's because using file-based, that's why it's not the best way, because if the file was super large, then it will take some seconds to read it, some seconds to write, then the application would be very, very slow, right?
And also there is the remove store product, and it checks that if there is a
Nice.
ID and it's detecting the quantity, and afterwards
Nice.
and I had some other simply want to implement that the user come and search in the store and put in an error, but I could not.
Okay.
So this is my class file and this is my index file. So in an index file, as you did to what in the last time, like full screen. So I part full screen in the second level, like there is a breakup and then remove item.
Yes.
Show item. So it is like there is also a network. So it is fetching data from
yes, perfect.
So it is the full screen and here is the switch.
Yeah.
And you could get the store name,
yeah.
And every in a store there is one switch and it gets the store operation like that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So here is the one problem which I am facing. Like first time, then I want to gain this one. Like this is a network I want to. So when I first time hit, then it will not show the method. When I second time hit,
okay.
Maybe it's due to the switch statement or.
Yeah, we can debug it later and see what's the problem. But no, this is very, very good.
This was my code. So here is network and there is it is getting the query, get item, and then add store product. This is the class and netto add item and get the netto part. I declare this netto part is here in the part. And then it's
okay, yes.
And then it's
if you save each class and each path in an object of array, an array of objects, sorry, you would have simplified your code a lot more.
Yeah.
Because that netto, that bilka, whatever, you could have just be a key of an object. So you could immediately search instead of have like a hard-coded switch case, like you have now. Now you have hard-coded netto and all that. You could have simplified a little bit more by using a data structure like a simple array of objects. But it's good. This is really good. So don't worry about it. Cool. Yes. Yeah.
There is reusing the methods again.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. This is good. I think this is really good.
And also one another method. Like the first time when I add, if there is no ID.
There's an ID, should add one, right?
Yeah, if it is adding, if there is no ID.
Yeah, perfect.
So add item. adding it is adding in the network like 50. But I am making the operation on the product quantity. It is taking the string because when the user comes, I am adding like first quantity by the user and the existing quantity in the JSON, and then add and then update.
Yeah.
When I first time add, then it is taking the string.
Yes. Like when you read the query params, you need to specify which type it is, because query params in your URL are always parsed as a string. So every time you read from the query params, that particular property you need to do parse int and take the integer part. So your data type are consistent over time, because that could actually cause a problem.
Adding method, I parse it in the integer, but I could not find the solution in the reading.
Okay.
When I am adding with the existing part.
Yeah, you need to parse int like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So same with the adding.
Yes. Always a strict parse int. The integer, the values that you know that are integer. Because when you parse from the URL, it's going to be string all the time.
This is
perfect. I think it's very good. I think it was a pretty good job.
That's why I couldn't fix the other part of the assignment.
Okay, it's fine. You will do next time.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, there are questions, or people want to add something about it, or something that you don't like or you don't understand or whatever. So seems we are good. Was this? You think this would be too hard for you? You think it would be too hard for you to do something similar to this? Okay, nice, okay. Perfect. Alrighty. Let's move forward with teaching then. Let me connect quickly to the cast. So let's see where we are. I think it will take over the last one. Okay. So you remember that we went to week 3, and you remember, like a fast recap of the week 3, we had a look what is a network, what is HTTP, there is a protocol that runs on internet for transfer multimedia files. Then we talk about how to do HTTP in Node. And then we said we have a core module called HTTP for do that. And then we talk about how to create a very small HTTP server in Node. And that's a very small one. Then do you remember that also I talked about status code, and I said like have a look at those links, because a full-blown HTTP server will handle different files. Will handle different status, right? For example, if you find a page, it will return 200. But if the page is not found, it will return 404. And if there is an error in the server, we'll return something like 500 or 501 or 3, depends, right? And then we said that there is a list of status code here, which you need to have always those status code in mind, always. So when you do an operation from the server point of view, you need to match the status code with the operation you're doing. So if we are posting something, or we are getting something, we need to accordingly choose the right HTTP status code. And then we went a little bit further actually in the class. We create a full HTTP server with multiple endpoints, and we actually reuse the classes of the shopping list. So we wired the class with the different endpoints, and that pretty much was the end of the class. And then I gave you as exercise something similar, and you do today. So today is week 4. And like we are, we are moving very, very quick. So I mean, at this point, if something is not clear, it's better that you say, because now things are slightly more complicated, and we are moving at a good pace. So I think we have time to slow down if needed. So if you don't understand something, it's better that you say straight in the beginning, and then when we stop and review it.
But 90%, let's see, you say
Parsing?
Yeah.
Taking a string and converting to the integer.
Yeah. But if you do JavaScript 1 or 2, if you do that course, there is parsing in that course. Because I've been teaching JavaScript 1, and I remember I did it.
Did we have that? They are all in China. I don't remember.
I also don't remember how to take this URL and then replace like
Last time how to code the method, how to.
Do you remember that I take the URL from a request.url?
yeah, I remember that, but I forgot how to do it.
Okay. We can have a look at that. Okay, but this is like a good thing. Some of the stuff that I did in the previous class, some of the stuff will be easier because now we are using a library instead. So instead of use the Node core module, we're going to use Express, and Express will make things simpler for us. For example, the query params and a parse that is automatically done in Express. So that's like a good example. We're gonna have a look at Express, and also like we can compare and go back to the regular HTTP core modules and see how we can do the same stuff we did in Express with the HTTP module. Okay. After that, we will stop coding for a while, and we will explain what is REST API. This is an important concept because in your job, in your profession, or in the future, people will use this pattern, like a REST API pattern, to design and develop their web server. This is like a common pattern to use when you do web service. And then we go back to coding, and we write an HTTP server, but this time with Express. So we will do pretty much what we have done already, but with Express. Does it make sense? Question. In my slides, sometimes I just some random questions.
What was the last thing?
Gotchas. I'll show you what I mean. There are like few things that we need to take care after we do when we write an Express server. Okay. So why promises are good?
I have my understanding we escape by the callbacks.
Yeah. So one good thing about promises is that we don't use callback. Yeah.
It's easier and code become the easier and simple to read.
And there is also one more thing. When we talk about promises, we talk about how, for example, to run multiple,
Yeah.
multiple asynchronous code simultaneously. Yeah, you remember that promise.all. So we can run asynchronous code simultaneously, and then like wait for all of them. So I would say that it improves asynchronous flow. That's what that's because like callbacks are not bad, but promises will help you to structure your asynchronous flow better and do some operation that otherwise with callback would have been very hard. Okay. What HTTP stands for? Yeah. Yeah, transfer protocol. So yeah, the P is always usually it's always protocol. So what is a protocol in general, like in 2 lines?
Protocol is something like that. It's a code of communication.
It's a set of rules. Protocol is in very generic terms is just a set of rules. And set of standards, a set of rules to make intercommunication easier, like communication across different machines over the network easier. And HTTP it's one protocol, so it's one set of rules. Why is it hypertext? What's the origin of hypertext? Yeah, it's the linking. Do you remember? We talked about this. Perfect. Okay. So if you have a look back to last class and we think about the HTTP server that we wrote, it was nice. It was nice, but obviously wasn't that easy to perform some tasks. For example, today we highlighted parts the query string was not super easy. I had to write a function myself, for example, right? So and in general, if you want to do some complicated things with the core HTTP library, it became very messy. It's not easy to write. So yeah, and you end up to write a lot of code, and a lot of code usually means a lot of bugs. So obviously, it's a very, very good thing to write an HTTP server from scratch, like we did last time with a node module. It's a good learning, but in reality, you're going to use a framework. You're going to use a library that will condense a lot of standards problems and will provide you a solution with them right out of the box. Besides that, having one framework means that we have one common ground to work. So like we will solve the problem in the same way because a framework in the end is just a set of good practice put it together. So if we are used to the same framework, most likely we are aligned how to solve problems. So it will be easy to teamwork. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
So this framework will handle the extra things, as you said that.
Plus the common problems that we will encounter in our journey are already solved by the framework. So the framework gives you extra functionality to solve the common problems that everyone will like, for example, parsing the URL, right? Okay, so that's I'll leave this to Abed. Yeah, you can just take over. Yeah, that's totally fine.
Is it like conference 326?
Yes, yes.
But it's showing Markov.
You can. I will disconnect, but I can.
Is it like 3269?
Yes.
Asking this
Let me disconnect. Try now.